Okay, everybody, welcome to the TCP Building Design Committee meeting for October 20th, and I will open the meeting with a few remarks. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. The town of Lunenburg, in response to COVID-19, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this public meeting is being conducted remotely. This meeting will be recorded and be able to be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link that was provided in the published agenda, or from a telephone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter the webinar ID 837-5635-5284 and then press the pound sign. If you have not registered with Zoom, you will be asked for your name and an email address. The agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. With that, I will call the roll. Oh, and let me admit. I apologize to folks if you're sitting in a waiting room long. I have a hard time doing two things at once, so doing the best I can. I'll call the roll here. Dave Passios.
Here.
Christina.
Here.
Brian Leighton.
Here.
And I am not expecting Dave Blatt this evening. He is out of town on business, and Michael Ray is going to be a few minutes late. So I do expect him at or around 6 o'clock. And I'm present here as well, of course. And I haven't heard from anybody else, so we'll see if anybody else joins. I have a conflict this evening, so I'm going to, assuming we obtain a quorum, one more member, so we can keep a quorum, I'm going to leave and pass the baton to Brian shortly after 6 o'clock. So just wanted to let everybody know. So I'm going to take public comment. I'm just going to remind everybody, particularly as we move towards the public meeting, and we may get a few more folks that wish to speak publicly, that I really want to stick to the format that we present in the agenda. So I just want to say out loud that this is a public comment period, not a public question and answer period, or a back and forth period between the people making the comment and the board members. So we will take public comments. Certainly can feel free to answer. Anybody can feel free to pose questions during public comment period, but we will not answer those right away. We will wait and make sure that the speaker is completely through with their comment. We'll take all comments from the public. We'll take all comments from the committee members, and then we'll move through that way. So I just wanted to say that out loud. We've been a little lax on that with this committee because we just plain haven't had a lot of public comment over the last several months. But I just want to now that we're getting some interest, I just want to make sure we stick to the ground rules. So with that, is there any public comment from the public? And I see a couple of folks. One on a phone, and someone else. So feel free to unmute yourself if you wish to speak. And actually, the person on the phone, I'm going to assume that maybe there's trouble unmuting, so I'm going to ask you to unmute. So feel free, if you don't have anything to say, just to let me know.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay, thank you.
Greg, you see the second phone also, right?
I see one phone.
There's another one, 978-400-1128.
Yes, that's the one I'm trying to, yep, I think,
Hello?
yes, I think,
I have no comment. I was
okay,
just going to listen in. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
great. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't an issue with unmuting or something, so I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Is there any public comment from the committee? Okay. So I have, our second agenda item here is to review any input or update, receive any update from DeGiorgio. I don't have anything specifically other than to say that relative to this process, other than to say that we did, the town manager did reach out relative to the timeframe and presented the timeframe that the committee, upon which the committee needs the information, which is in early November, preferably by the 2nd, which is the select board meeting where Mr. Jeffries is going to make a presentation to the select board. And they basically have said that they are going to need all the days that they have in their contract, which runs them through the 7th, I believe, 6th to the 7th of November. But they are doubling their effort. They did communicate to Heather that they are doubling their effort to try to make for the 2nd, but that it's going to be a tight squeeze on their end. So that's really all I have to report on that front. So really what I wanted to talk about most this evening is just to review the presentation that Mr. Blatt has been preparing. I know that we have received that in draft form, and we've already made some comments on it. So I open it up to I guess, I'm not sure if we should share the screen on this. What's the easiest way to do this? I guess so. Why don't I do that?
Yeah, I think we can. There isn't any information there that's really needs to be withheld. I mean, it's all stuff we've.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
The finals on them.
Yeah, so let me do that. Oh, Christina has her hand raised.
Sorry, I just want to apologize for replying all. I didn't realize that would
Oh,
be
that's okay.
considered
That's
a quorum. So
That's okay. It's the darn protocols here that but yeah, just it's better if we just reply to the one person, and then you know, typically it would actually be through me, through the chair, and then I'll disseminate the information accordingly. That's the proper and cleanest way to do that. So no problem. We're all humans doing the best we can at the end of the day. So let me see if I can share this screen. Bear with me here. Okay, can everybody see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't we just go down the one person at a time? Well, let's just go slide by slide and then one person at a time to see if there's any comments on any of this stuff. So first slide, maybe there's not enough of us to really do the person by person. So is there any comments on slide number 1? Or are we good with this here?
we're good.
Yeah, Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Slide number 2.
Sorry. So I did have a comment on slide number 1.
Yep.
Sorry.
Oh, you do?
So I
Okay.
had sent David Blatt an email, but it was after he sent the second one, so he wasn't able to either tweak it or send out a third one. But I was thinking more of a cover page for this instead of the new building study. Maybe it was more of the tear down and comparable new building study. I just wanted to make sure it was clear what we were looking at or what we were doing in this particular set of slides.
And I
'Cause
think,
we need to present the we need to give an overview of the renovation as well.
And I think, yeah, maybe it's a whole new first slide and then the overview of the process. A brief, we've discussed this before too, a briefer description of what we've done so far in the process and what led us to, and then this slide or the next slides.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe this slide's okay, but we need more in front of it.
Yeah.
What you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, and I think new building study too, I think it is going to involve the tear down too. So I don't know if we want to incorporate that language either,
Yeah. Okay.
but I think there's definitely got to be a lead into this slide.
So are you talking about like the previous study, like the apples to apples comparison, or like what that
The
how-
start, I'm talking about, I guess, the start of the committee, why it was formed, what we did, and coming up with the price for the renovation. And then talking about, okay, because this price was high, we thought maybe we should look into what for the town to know what a new building would cost, apples to apples. And then we say, okay, well, now we have that number, we have that information, let's talk about that. So the town has all the information.
if we're going to do that, we might want to include a slide too, saying that we've talked to the different, or you guys talked to the different committees and everyone's been pooled. So the space requirements are coming from that. It's not made up numbers by us.
Yeah.
right,
And then,
go ahead, Brian, finish up first.
well, I think that's exactly, I think the point, right? The citizens need to know all the stuff that was done beforehand. So this makes a lot more sense.
Right. What we've got
Christina,
before us so far is giving us just the information for the tear down and rebuild. That's all that's in these slides. Our charge is to come back to town meeting and give them a presentation that presents both options.
I agree.
And, this is a good start on the tear down rebuild. Some adjustments need to be made. I think we've got to start getting back to the name of the committee that we've used and don't keep changing things, the wordings around. The name of our committee was not changed by town meeting. So we are still the redesign committee. New building study, I agree, Brian, it should be the tear down new building study or something to that effect on that line. Town of Lunenburg community building, I'm not sure exactly where this is coming from because we haven't discussed what we were going to describe this as. If this is it, Michael Ray is using a more extensive description, including town hall and community building. I think, again, we need to standardize. We can't keep changing the descriptions because people are going to say, well, what are you talking about here? What building and which project and so on and so forth. So there's got to be consistency through the presentation.
Okay.
I would agree. I think going back to what we did on the last slide, or not the last slide, the last presentation, using some of that, but also, yeah, maybe like Dave said, I would probably just totally get rid of that. Now, after hearing Dave, I don't think I want that top title. I think it goes back to the TC Passios redesign committee as the kind of the header.
Yep.
Great.
And like I say, this, this is a good presentation with some tweaks as we get down through it for the tear down rebuild. But as we discussed in the previous meeting, also presented needs to be a pared down version of our other presentation. Whether I would say it's appropriate to be ahead of this presentation because that's the order pretty much they're going to be taken up in.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
okay.
As a side comment, didn't Michael Ray try to strike one of the articles last night at town meeting?
No, he tried to get the Board of Selectmen to vote to disapprove the article for funding of the renovation, and that would have been printed in the warrant. And after a brief discussion, that was withdrawn, and they deferred to special town meeting.
Okay.
That's another concern I have is that, you know, as a committee, we have a charge. What your personal feelings are about either one of these projects should not come through in our deliberations as a committee. And I don't believe that this committee should even give a recommendation one over the other going into town meeting.
No.
We become individuals when the articles come on the floor and we vote our conscience on the floor.
Right. Yeah, we're not a recommending committee. We are a present the facts committee.
Right.
We're charged with gathering the facts and gathering information so that the town can make a decision.
Yep.
So that's for the finance committee and the select board to make recommendations. I agree with that wholeheartedly, but. All right, so I agree with all those comments on slide one. Do we have any other comments on slide one? And then obviously with the comments that we need to add slides before this to walk us through the history of TCP. Present, albeit hopefully in a shorter version of the slides we did last spring, but present the TCP project and definitely present the cost again. And then we roll into this option. So I think that's good.
And I think one of the things that's going to be good about what we've got lined up, if we can get the whole presentation pulled together in time, is that tentatively right now we have November 4th to vet how the presentation presents. We've got, did I say, yeah, November 4th for the public hearing for Finance Committee. Then we've got November 10th to vet it again. And if we want to tweak it before town meeting to either shorten it or adjust it, we'll have the opportunity to do that.
Yep.
Sorry, as a side note, is anyone taking notes on the changes that we're proposing so when David comes back, he can make them?
I am taking some notes, but I also note that this is recorded and I'm hoping that David can just watch it and review it.
Okay.
But I am taking some notes. Yeah. Okay.
20 minutes on page one.
Yeah, I know. That's not a good sign, folks. So there's a slide here for what the new, sort of some picture, revision here for some site plans, I think, building and site plan once we get them from the architect. So
Yeah.
if you object to this or have any comments?
The only thing I want to make sure that when that slide is selected, that it does present the building shifted back the 15 or 20 feet that we talked about, not sitting right on top of the building footprint towards the front, just so people are aware that it's going to shift back away from the existing roadway.
Yeah, okay. I started that as input to definitely make sure I reiterate with John. But
yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think potentially changing it to a new build might look like, what a new build might look like, or a tear down new build might look like. I'm not a huge fan of the it.
Okay.
Yeah, and we may come up with, or Dave may even come up with it as a common lingo so that it carries, again, consistency through the presentation. So people know without having to think real hard about, okay, so which is this? And you're right, Brian, it's going to be confusing unless we come up with a simple way that describes the renovation Or, and maybe we just go with the renovation and rebuild. I mean, those two categories are very different things, and the two projects are very different projects with the same end result.
Yep. Just come up with a nomenclature that we're gonna use all the way through.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Slide 3 is a, just a presentation of the first floor plan. So the next two slides are really, they're just presentation of the first and second floor plans. Overall, I see going through these pretty quick and then going into slide 5, which is a blow up of each individual. So I think these are important. Because people at town meeting won't be able to see this on the screen very well. And we can do handouts of these so they have them, but. So unless anybody has anything on 3 or 4, I guess maybe 3 and 4, just to make sure nomenclature is right?
Yeah, that would be the only thing. Could you jump to 4?
Yep.
Just see if it jars my memory on anything. No, that's fine. I mean, in the verbal presentation, we might mention that it's, no, never mind. I was going to bring up the structural discussion we had about the roof structure over this first floor wing. That's for another committee and down the road. We don't really need to involve that now.
Well, he mentions that later in the slideshow, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Actually, yeah, you're right, because it mentioned something about expandability or whatever.
yeah.
However it's worded.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we're rolling now. Slide 5. Any comments?
The only thing I wonder about, and I don't like to break numbers down too far, but the question has been raised a number of times as to how much square footage is committed to archive storage versus regular storage, and I'm not sure if it's worth breaking that down. I just bring it out as a comment to the committee.
Yeah.
So on that front too, when you look at the school offices for their school records in the reception waiting, and I'm afraid this might confuse people and they'll say, well, where's the classroom space? So I don't know if we need to clarify that this isn't where the kids actually, I don't know.
I think we'll see that in the next slide though, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may have that question on this slide, but then when we go to the next slide, I think, it might. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Slides are hard because it would be nice to present a ton of information on them, but if you put too much on there, then it gets hard, cumbersome to read and present, but it's also something to present. That's a good point, Christina. It's also something we can make sure that we sort of make sure that flows in the verbal presentation.
Yeah. Yeah, the only way to get any good use out of these floor plans at a meeting would be if you had a full-size movie theater screen that you could blow it up on, that people could actually see it, read it, and see the breakdown. And for our purposes for this town meeting, I don't think that's really necessary.
Yeah.
No, and the only reason sorry, I didn't mean to
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Christina. I'm sorry.
The only reason I bring it up is because you look at the town offices, that's first floor. So you would think that you would either keep the first floor all together where he jumps to the school offices on the second floor and then tracks back to the first floor, giving them their whole page, which I know he probably did that because of the fact that he breaks down the schools, but I'm just afraid that might cause confusion. Or if, Dave, to your point, maybe can we put a slide, I guess, at the end doing an official breakdown, or can we add notes to the slide saying, well, in the town offices, in the dedicated storage, there's 1,000 square feet for archive, 500 for housing, and 216 for, so we have it and we have it available. It's just not taking up space.
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So one idea I have, just bouncing off of what Christina said, maybe it makes more sense to have this slide be town offices. Blow up the town office first floor, then the next slide be school offices and school-based programs. And that way we're not seeing schools twice, the community's not seeing schools twice, and they're just seeing, okay, these are the school offices, these are the school-based programs. And that would be like the double slide rather than this being the double slide.
It
Well-
made sense at the beginning and then I lost you, Brian.
I see this as maybe what a suggestion I have. I know that we all probably have different opinions on this, but I think what Dave did is he broke this up into wings. So maybe what we need to do is just refer to these as wings. This is less the town and school office, like the office building wing of the building.
Hmm.
And then the next slide he has is the school use, like the classroom wing of the building. And then he has the community space wing, which is 2 floors. So I personally like how he has it split up. I just think that maybe we need to, maybe on slides 3 and 4, we should put a presentation of that, of how the building was laid out. So if we go back here, maybe we can put like a rectangle in here or something like that. That says, office wing, and then we put a rectangle over here that says community wing, and then you put a rectangle over here that says school use wing or something. And you could do the same thing on this floor.
So
Second floor, office wing, second floor, community wing. I don't know, I'm just talking out loud here, but.
So going off of that, kind of like doing both of what you're saying, what if we split the wings into their own slide, and then can we take a smaller picture of this in the corner? So like the first floor, we can highlight the box around it and have it in the corner showing what part of the building we're talking about.
So like on
So
this slide, put something up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be nice to do. That's not a bad idea.
Makes sense to just split this into two slides and talk about the wings.
Yeah, all right. So
and-
maybe add some slides and simplify each slide.
Yeah, and then put a little picture of the building on the slide and highlight the red box and say, this is what we're talking about. Cause I think they might get confused as to what we're referencing.
Add a couple
we'll-
slides. And so don't do any double slides. We'll add a couple slides and we'll put a key for where we are in the building.
I like that.
Yes.
Greg, kind of like they do with survey plans, when you got to show where they are
Yeah.
in the county, the state or town or whatever. Down somewhere in the corner, there's usually a little map with a colored block as to the actual property.
Right. So Michael Ray has joined us. Michael Ray, we're just to bring up the speed, we're just reviewing the presentation and noting comments for Dave. So we're just kind of going through slide by slide here. And I have a commitment. I'm going to leave here in about 10 minutes and pass at about 6:15 and pass the torch over to Brian because Dave is not available this evening. So I just bring you up to speed. Okay, so so then, so what we just landed on, basically, just to summarize, is we won't do any of these double slides. We'll break these out, try to simplify, not as busy. So we'll present the first floor of the town office. We'll present the second floor that has the schools and the V and that kind of stuff. And then we will do, and same thing all the way through. So that seems like there'd be, what Dave currently has is 3 slides. That will end up being 5 slides. And then we'll try to put a key in the corner up in this area here or somewhere on this page that kind of shows us where we are in the building so that people can reference it off the main floor plans. Make sense to everybody?
Definitely.
Okay. So we have those general comments for slides 5, 6, and 7, but are there any other specific comments relative to other things on 6? the way we're presenting any of the text or what?
I have a question.
Yep.
And I apologize to my fellow members here for coming in late and having a meeting that just ended. So I may have missed this in previous discussion. So, I didn't send Dave my feedback. I'm wondering if these numbers that we're looking at, if for people, they're not going to mean anything without some context of, and I wasn't sure if we're doing a comparison between what was, I don't know if it's even necessary to do a comparison between what was in the remodel plan or not, but I thought it was a lot of numbers for square footage, and I don't know if that means anything to most people. I don't think most people have any idea what the square footage of their bedrooms are, of their homes are, for the most part. So I wasn't sure if that would be helpful. And then the other thought was that my, I guess, expectation was that this would be a presentation for both, mainly for article, the article with the renovation, and that there would be kind of a recap of what was of that whole project, what was done for that project, and then leading into, this is an alternative.
Yeah, we did cover that, Mike. We all had that same feedback.
Okay.
So we've already noted that we need to add several slides that are basically a subset of what we presented in the spring to present the renovation, or give an overview of the renovation project, and then break into this analysis. So that's
Okay.
good.
Michael, the other thing I brought up a short time before you came on is that once this presentation is finalized, we're going to have an opportunity to vet it in presentation form twice before special town meeting, November 4th and November 10th,
Mhm.
assuming both of those meetings still happen. That will give us the opportunity to get a feel for how it flowed, what reactions and or questions it generated, and maybe adjust it, a final adjustment for special town meeting.
Okay.
Okay. I actually, just thinking about the square footages, I actually think that's a good comment. I mean, what do other people think about that? Are we getting too into the weeds by presenting all of these?
I don't know. I think you can need to look at it both ways, that the people that have been paying attention through the whole process are always talking about square footage for this, square footage for that. The people that are just getting this for the first time, it may be more information than they can digest in a short period of time. But the people that have been following the process, the biggest questions how many square feet is that we've had is how many square feet is dedicated to this? How many square feet is dedicated to that? That's what prompted my comment about archive storage space versus regular storage space.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is a little busy, but if we don't spend a lot of time on the slide and move through them, with basic comments about them, I think the data should stay. But that's up to the group.
I think it should stay as well. I think it shows because people are probably going to question, well, could you have made it smaller? Could you have made it bigger? But we're doing apples to apples. So we're showing that we're taking the same square footage as best as we could to redesign this building. So I think it's important to keep that aspect in it.
So my thought, I almost want them to go away. I almost say, put them in the earlier slide, say, okay, this is the square foot that we did for the redesign. And then for the new build, well, they're actually going to be close to the same square footage. So we're not going to show you those numbers again.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. One slide that's like that comparison, almost like a chart of the renovation square footage versus the new design square footage, just showing that there's a comparison there, what that comparison is. I think if it was on one slide, one kind of chart, I think that would probably make the most sense. And to Mr. Pasios's point, I think that, we have to try to talk to the person who has not been following along this whole time, that, for the person who this is going to be new information. My concern is that we don't want to overwhelm with too much information, because then it's hard to know what's relevant.
I can agree with that.
I think I like the comparative slide. Find a place to put a comparative slide in, and it just deals with square footages.
Yeah.
And you
It
might
still
even wanna-
puts, right, it still puts the data out there, Greg, so,
Yep.
And it takes off the
and
emphasis.
probably in a much more organized fashion,
Yep.
like you say, in one slide instead of scattered all over the
Yep.
place.
Yep, I think that's good. I added a note here to add a comparative square footage slide somewhere.
Yep.
Okay,
And then just be ready to, assuming the numbers still come out to 55,000 and 58,000, have a brief explanation as to where that extra square footage came from.
yeah. Okay. So I would assume we'd have the same comments on this slide. I mean, those comments kind of are all encompass all of these slides 5, 6, and 7. And then with the understanding, we'll present this in 2 slides. So we'll do, so that we're not so busy on one slide, we'll do first floor, next slide, second floor. So that we can do a good job, an adequate job about of doing that presentation.
Yeah, I think it might be good to break this one up into 2 slides too, just to reinforce that there's a lot. of
Yeah,
space.
I think that's what I'm saying. I think won't do 2 sections of the building on any slide. We'll just we'll put one on each slide just to break it up. I have that note generally for all those slides, so. All right,
I'm good.
okay. Slide 8.
So I had a bunch of comments for this one. So the first bullet, I would think that we'd want to also include that community space besides, so it's between schools, town offices, and community space, that there's separate secure entrances. And then we're throwing out that language of community space again. The second bullet, I think the second and third and the last one, all community in there. So additional parking, which can be utilized by town for other school, sporting events, and community events. Green space in the back for town employees, school-based programs, and community events.
Yep.
And then keep as much open area in front for use for concerts, community events, and other activities.
Okay.
I think that was it for me on the slide.
Okay.
I didn't make any notes, handwritten notes, but I totally agree with everything that Brian just said. Those would have been my notes if I had actually jotted them down for this slide.
My feedback is the title, some additional info. I think that a title such as, design considerations may be more appropriate.
I agree.
Yeah, Michael, the other thing we had was a conversation about nomenclature through the entire presentation, and settle on what we're going to be calling things, what we're going to be calling the renovation, what we're going to be calling the rebuild. I don't know if those are the terms we settle on, but we've got to come up with nomenclature that carries through consistently through the whole presentation, so people don't get confused as to which project we're talking about.
Yep. All right. Brian, do you have the ability to share this
Yes.
if I stop sharing and transfer host to you?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to do that. Bear with me here. Okay, so I apologize, everybody. but I'm going to sign off and transfer the chair over to Brian's capable hands. And so good luck.
Hope the game goes well, Greg. Talk to you later.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks,
All right.
Greg.
Make sure you transfer over. I think you're still.
Yeah, how do, hold on here. How do I do this?
Go to your
Maybe
participants.
participants,
You'll
yeah.
do it there.
More,
able to
yep.
select my name.
Make host.
See,
Yes.
That's it. Got it.
Hey,
Now I
just
gotta go
make
to the
sure,
school committee meeting.
is it still, it still says recording on my screen. Is it still saying?
Yes,
yours?
it says recording. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Sorry for,
Later, Brian.
I have to go.
thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Okay. Does yours still say recording on yours?
Yes.
Yes.
Mine's a little different as the host, I guess. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. It's the presentation, you guys can see that?
Yes.
All right, so we left off on some additional information. Was there any other thoughts on this slide? Otherwise, we'll move on. All right, the last slide. So what is the bottom line?
I think, again, this is same concern about the amount of square footages. I think maybe the bottom line should focus on that, the total cost and how we get there. So, you know, estimated renovation, and then what those kind of, not everyone, soft costs is, I think, an industry term. So kind of just explaining what's built into that, and then how we arrive at the total.
Anyone else? I'm just gonna wait. So I have a few comments on this one. So I'm a little torn with how the last slide should go. Maybe it's a new building breakdown in costs was my initial thought of, okay, this is the new building breakdown costs. And then I want that total number. I don't want to have an 18 and a 5, and then later on the public sees the 23 million. So I think having that 23 number, if that's whatever we're asking, that number's there, because that could be confusing for people. I had also mentioned, I think school programs should be school-based programming, keep that consistent language. But I think this should be the new build number slide. I agree with Mr. Jeffries that take away the square footage too. We can do another slide on that. But I think after that, then it's the final slide is, okay, this is your rebuild renovate price. This is what the new build price would be. Now we're gonna have these two articles to discuss of what we want to do.
That sounds great.
Agreed.
Yeah, because, go ahead, Christina, then I'll make comments. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I agreed. I think we need to have it clearly stated what the price is and then be able to end it with comparing the two. So it kind of lets that resonate for the people.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, people are going to vote based on the dollar amount, not all the other information. They need to have that the other information and data presented to them, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the dollar amounts that count on which way they go with their vote. So we need to clearly communicate that to the public in the last slide, because that will be the last thing that sticks in their mind.
I'll be sitting there for a while up on the screen. So that'll be
Right.
good.
Yep. And that way, I would assume it doesn't need to be stacked on top of each other. You know, it can be set up into two sections like we got on here, but maybe the renovation project is where how will the building be used would be laid out there. And then to the right would be the rebuild with the appropriate numbers there. Just so you know too, there will be a finance committee letter included in the town meeting warrant, specifically speaking to the cost of borrowing for this project and potential borrowing for Turkey Hill. That should be available publicly fairly soon. It was submitted, so it would be printed in the warrant. I think it's pretty factual, and the Finance Committee had input, secondary input after it was put together. So I think it's a good informational letter that was put in there, and it does not speak directly to the articles. It speaks to the effect of borrowing for either project and potential for Turkey Hill down the road and how it affects the town finances. I think that's a really good piece, that putting that before the town meeting members and knowing how it fits into our fiscal policies, so on and so forth, is an important key to them understanding how we can afford a project of this size and another one at the end of the decade.
Thanks. Is there any other discussion on the proposed warrant articles or reviewing the town meeting presentation?
This might be outside the scope of the committee, but I don't know, is it worth like putting that we have other committee, like the school committee support in having this done while there's schools near it to show that we have other people on board?
I think most definitely. I don't know what part of the presentation that should be presented, but yeah, most definitely. That's why we asked the school committee to do a formal vote to either support or not support the consolidation of the uses that are proposed in the building. The select board will have their vote and their recommendation on town meeting floor. Finance committee will do the same. The more entities, boards, commissions, whatever you want to pull into the ranks that support either one of the projects is a better thing at town meeting. I mean, ultimately, with a big project, you like to go in with the support of every single town committee and commission and board, but that's, you know, usually impossible for this type of a project. The key players are the ones that need to be, you know, unified going into town meeting as much as possible.
And I think
So-
the challenge too, it's going to be, are they really supporting one of the articles too, or are they just supporting the consolidation too?
Right. Yep, I agree. Do you have another comment, Christina?
I was just gonna ask that the finance committee wouldn't have a potential consideration after our meeting with them, that they'd wait all the way till special town meeting.
They do have that option. They can vote to support or not support at the, let's see, November 4th meeting. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I'm hoping they defer to special town meeting, because you know, a lot of times it's important to get the feel of town meeting before the finance committee and the select board make a final recommendation. So I'm pretty sure. Well, I don't know. I don't know what finance committee will do, but they are allowed. You know, they are allowed to. At this point, whatever they vote from this date forward will not show in the town warrant, the printed warrant. So it would have to be announced at special town meeting that the finance committee took a vote on such and such a date during the public hearing and supported or did not support or whatever. I think it's cleaner to do it on special town meeting floor, but that's totally up to the finance committee.
Yeah, I would think so too. All right, if there's no other discussion on the proposed warrant articles and reviewing the town meeting presentation, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, is the review and approve minutes. Everybody have a chance to read the minutes?
I
We have
did.
September
Enough of us-
8th. Sorry, September 8th and October 6th were sent out.
Yep. With only a couple of spelling or autocorrect, I should say, errors in my last name spelling. I move that we approve the minutes for 9/8/21 and 10/6/21.
Second.
Any further discussion? I will do a roll call vote. Dave Passios,
Aye.
Michael Ray Jeffries,
Aye.
Christina Masitis,
Aye.
and an aye for me. So both minutes pass from September 8th and October 6th. Thank you.
Thank you,
Next-
Megan.
Thank you, Megan. Yeah. The next item on the agenda is public outreach. It's kind of an open-ended agenda item.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
Michael
Mike.
Ray Jeffries.
I'll just update the committee on what's been going on the select board since I have been giving committee reports, and as we've been kind of discussing the article that comes after this, which is funding of the new building. So it seems as if it's going to be really important at this finance committee meeting on the 4th. That's going to be a kind of a public presentation for both the article to move forward with the renovation, or the funding to move forward with design and development for a new build. So I just wanted to I think that's going to be an important day. We had talked previously about, I just wanted to confirm, am I representing, I thought we said last week that I am, but I just want to confirm, am I representing the TCP design committee in front of the finance committee?
Yes, Greg said he was going to try to attend, but the expectation was you.
Okay.
And I will be there. I will be there by default, so.
Was there a question of having all of us go or having all of us stay away because of the quorum issue? Was that you don't want us in attendance, or you do want us in attendance?
Sounded like we could have a quorum. We didn't need to have a meeting because we're not going to be discussing or deliberating.
It may, Christina, if you think you want to be able to, I'm trying to think this through as I'm thinking about it here. If you wanted, I'm trying to think, if you wanted to attend and participate in the public hearing as a citizen with myself there, Michael Ray there, and you there, I think as long as we're not deliberating and taking votes, I don't think it's a problem. That's my interpretation right at the moment.
I think it's stick to the facts.
That's mine as well, but if we have a designated spokesman that's going to, for the most part, answer some of the questions that, if other people contribute additional information, that's not, necessarily conflictual. I think the main thing is for there not to be any decisions made by the TCP design committee. So long as we're not deciding anything, not voting on anything, I don't think it needs to be a posted meeting, because there's really nothing to talk about.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to come, Christina, come.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm gonna be in that hot seat for a while, so I got 2 presentations back to back.
I was watching the select board meeting last night. I might start coming to those and sitting in the back with Dave, but if it's at 10 o'clock at night, I might be way out of there by then. That's past my bedtime.
Yeah, that last night was a tough one. That was my second long night in a row.
Yeah, we were out pretty late.
I'm sure everybody saw Greg. He was in the same shape I was. So yeah, they can be long. They're not normally that late, but the main subject that's dragging meetings out right now through the special town meeting is this project. So it is what it is for right now.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything for public outreach?
Just want to make sure we stick to the time schedule that we put together at the last meeting to get information to the ledger, advertising of the meetings, and most importantly, I feel, is to get that article in that would come out in the ledger the Friday before a special town meeting. You know, it sneaks up on us very quickly. I've got some things that I need to make decisions by the end of October, and the end of October is sneaking up on me very quickly here. So I see that happening to our committee also for deadlines that are ahead of dates we're thinking about. And if we miss them, then we've dropped the ball on communication.
So Dave, with special town, correct me if I'm wrong, special town meeting is November 16th.
That's correct.
So we would want the Friday, the 12th newspaper. So we would need to get it in by the 9th,
Right.
Tuesday, the 9th. And then potentially on the meeting from the 3rd,
Are those Tuesdays or Mondays?
Wednesday, the 3rd. So Tuesday, the 9th, we would need to have that article in for the
Yeah,
ledger.
and the ledger did say Tuesday would be the latest, but he did say that Monday would be better for both.
Yes. So that would likely be potentially our Wednesday, the 3rd meeting, finalizing that.
Yep.
Okay. Any other public outreach? Seeing none. Next item on the agenda is correspondence to and from the committee. I do not have anything.
I've got nothing this evening.
So I have a request. I just want to get clarification. The intent of if the article to renovate the building fails, and if the article to build a new town hall and community center passes, is the current membership interested in continuing this process for that new building? I think the assumption is yes, but
Yes.
I just want to be clear.
Yeah, my feel, I've thought that through a number of times over the past few weeks, and at this point, yes, I'm on board. If everything fails, I'm going to definitely reevaluate what my involvement going forward is going to be. But if you know, as long as one or the other is decided, yes, I plan to stay on.
Yes, I plan to stay on. Yeah, if both fail, I think it'll be interesting. I think the select board would have to decide what, based off of the votes, what they want to do forward going into the Springtown meeting.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other correspondence to and from the committee? Seeing none. Next item on the agenda was new business. I think this is also a place setter. I don't know if anyone had anything. I did not have anything.
No, I am a little concerned about what Greg said about what the engineers and architects said about they're going to need the entire time of the contract, but will do their best to come in earlier. And you know, that November's, Michael, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but there's
I'm
60
aware.
day. You are?
I'm aware, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That does concern me a little bit because contractual, they're not obligated to come in as early as we really need to have it. So we'll see what happens with that.
Next item on the agenda is future meeting schedule. I feel like I don't have the meeting schedule in front of me, but we're pretty set. I don't know if we need to add anything at this point. But we plan to meet next week, which will be the 27th, and then the 3rd, November 3rd is the following Wednesday, where we can discuss the ledger article.
Right. Yeah.
Any other discussion on future meeting schedule?
I don't think so. Like you said, we laid that out pretty well that last meeting. We just need to make sure, and I'll touch base with Greg again, that I really think it's a good idea to just submit a cookie cutter agenda to the town clerk for all of the dates, so that we don't accidentally miss a deadline for posting, because we're going to need all these meetings.
All right, next item on the agenda is public comment. I'll open up public comment from the public. Is there any public comment from the public? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Don't see anything.
Seeing none, I'll open up to public comment from the committee members.
Nothing more this evening. Thank you.
All right, seeing none, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. We're gonna do a roll call vote. Dave Passios,
aye.
Michael Ray Jeffries,
Aye.
Christina Masitis,
Aye.
and an aye for me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Night, everybody.
Good night.